Love you, Leanne.
Love you too, Bert.
That's a great way to start the podcast.
I don't know. Is he recording? Were you recording? Now that he's gone, right? We start talking about not him.
Not him.
Not him at all. So you guys have been on the, we're going to talk about this just for 2 seconds and then we'll talk about something better. You guys been on 21 Day Fix. Jeannie, how is it?
It's going well. I'm having my shake.
Nice.
So it is going well. I had my period last week and it was rough. Like,
why was it rough?
First of all, it totally affects I'm on thyroid medicine and had run out. So I was off of it for
wait,
4
wait.
days.
Wait. You're on medication, you ran out?
Yeah.
But you're on thyroid medication?
I am. Yes, like as of 4 months ago, I thought that, all the changes. I'm 47, so I was I've always been super high energy. You guys know that.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I was so fatigued. So then I thought, my dad had passed away. I thought that it was because I was depressed. I really didn't know. And it could be a number of things. Who really knows? I don't sleep well at night. But I was super fatigued, to the point that I would be driving sometimes in the afternoon and think, with kids in the car, and think, you shouldn't be driving. You're too tired. I felt like I was going to fall asleep.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And so I went to my doctor and she did all the blood work and my thyroid numbers were really low. So she's like, you need to go on thyroid medication. This is super normal for your age. But we have to make sure we get the right amount. So, I'm going to prescribe it. And so I started taking it and I definitely saw a difference. I didn't feel so fatigued anymore. Wow. So then she asked me, do you feel hyper? And I was like, no, I for sure don't feel hyper. I just feel like my energy's better now. And so that's, I guess, how because sometimes you'll start to feel really hyper on it. And then I know it's too high.
Right.
And she's like, well, your numbers must be really low because I started you high.
Wow.
And if you're not feeling hyper at all, then that's normal. But I still I'm still totally normal 30-day cycle.
Yeah.
But it's just that week, it just hits me like a wall. I feel terrible.
Well, let's talk about this because I have some stuff, and so do you, Lynn, about that week. That's different. Lynn and I both have this massive, horrific headache.
Horrible headache, fatigue, even though I'm still on the medication, and just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I actually, food-wise, I don't have weird, I don't overeat when I have my period. I food-wise stay totally on program. I just was so not up to doing workouts.
Right.
I was I just couldn't even bring myself to do it. I was like, no, I need a few days off. I can't. I can't deal with it now.
I just
need to get through the day.
Yeah, just got to get from A to B. I hear you. On those days I have that headache, it's it must be a migraine. I mean, I've never really had a migraine.
Yeah. It's a migraine.
I'm not sensitive to light. I'm not nauseous though. And I thought,
but that's how mine started off. Mine started off where I was it hit me on New Year's Eve. One year we were at Sandy's and I was like, oh my God, I have to go home right now. I'm going to throw up. And then they were bad and they would hurt, but they're migraines. They might get progressively worse. Mine got worse, but now all of a sudden they're kind of evening out.
It almost feels like a hangover headache. That just lingers.
Yeah.
And you can't take anything
unfortunately,
for it.
I didn't you don't get the benefit of having to have had the fun drinking. You just get the headache.
Exactly.
Because it's this dull, constant headache and nothing makes it go away.
Nothing. No Advil, no Aleve, no nothing. Mm-mm. It's no Excedrin, nothing. I've tried everything. The only thing that worked for me was taking Citracal. But someone may as well say, hey, how about you chew on this whole big chunk of sidewalk chalk for about 15 minutes once a day so you don't have a headache for one day. I gave up. I did it for 3 months and it worked. My headache was barely there or not at all.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't tolerate chewing that damn, it was literally eating sidewalk chalk.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Now, is this new to you? These headaches, are they new to you?
Yeah, in the last year. Yeah.
See, it started out like that for me. And so what I do, I don't know if this helps but I'm going to do it because it seems to work for me, is I start taking, I know when I'm going to get the headache. I usually get it Wednesday or Thursday of that week. So I start taking Excedrin migraine.
Yeah.
I start taking it, and it's once a day.
So the Excedrin makes me super shaky.
You know what?
You don't get shaky from it?
I used to.
Yeah, now you're used to.
But I don't
now
know.
She's addicted.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, hey, whatever. If it gets away, because my headache was so bad. Every step I took, I could feel it in my head.
Yeah, no, I feel it's like a dull pain. I could take 2 2 Advil and it nothing.
Oh, Advil doesn't work for me.
Does nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like my eyebrows are like knitted for a full 24 hours and they can't relax because
and it usually is really heavy on one side of my head.
Mine's not. Mine is my entire head. Like
mine goes over one eye.
It's awful. Oh. And mine started recently too. It's all aging and hormonal.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, because I'll see you and you'll be like, oh, you have a headache. Yeah. Like you can tell from my face how bad it really is.
Yeah. I think you can from me too tell on my face.
Yeah.
Because it's not a normal day. And it's one day every single month. And it's usually right within same time period from when I'm going to get my period.
It's so funny because everyone always like talks like dreading about like menopause and it going away. I'm actually like really looking forward to it.
I've heard one of our friends has gone through the change and she was like, it's the best thing ever. Yeah. Like her hair changed for the better.
I'm so done.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh. And meanwhile, like my poor daughter who doesn't have hers yet, thank God, but she, I just bought, like, I don't know what the difference is between regular women pads and kid pads, but now they market them to kids. It says like teen,
right?
And they're like all colorful. So I bought it just to like those because I thought they were cute, and then I just put them under the sink to just in case,
Right.
And she literally cried for like 2 hours
and
demanded that I get them out.
Oh no! It's hard for some kids. Georgia would die. She knew I was talking about this. But when Georgia got her period, clearly she's 13 and a half. She's gotten her period.
Right.
She was devastated.
Yeah.
She kept saying, my childhood's over.
Yeah.
My childhood is over. Aww. And I was like, no. It's actually, I know why you feel that way, but it's actually not. It doesn't have to be yet. You just have this one thing you got to deal with now.
Yeah.
But she literally like doubled over crying.
I just know it's going to be really bad for her.
And another one of our
super emotional.
Another one of our friends reacted. Her daughter just got her period.
She was like, whatever.
No, she wasn't.
Oh.
No, she was not. She was like Georgia. She was like, my childhood's over. Oh. It's over. But I mean, how do you prepare them for that? I mean, there's no. It's not over. You're still a kid. You can still play with dolls and have your period.
Of me just putting pads in the.
I know you just put them. Oh my God!
I just put them in there. So do you buy the ones that say teen? Are those the ones they like, or do they not really care?
No, no. I buy ones that don't have wings.
Oh.
The wings, George is like, I can't handle the wings, so I buy some, and I'm very light. And I think she is too. Oh. So I don't need like.
Isn't that sweet?
I don't need like a twin mattress under my bed.
You just take one Advil too.
Yeah, exactly. Really she's cute. Very sweet. Yeah. She's very like that. But
so cute.
Yeah, I was like, well, I have a really light flow, and I think from what she's telling me, she has a really light flow. So I'm like, we don't need the big fucking twin mattress in your pants,
like that we had to wear.
Yeah.
The submarine sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, God. The stay-free submarine sandwich.
What was that?
That thing was terrible.
Ridiculous.
It's like sitting on a twin mattress. It's awful. It was awful.
So bad.
So yeah, I buy women's. They number them based on your flow, right? So I get her a number 2, and it's like extra long, so that she can sleep in it,
right,
and it not go backwards. But
Lord.
It's kind of crazy.
I'm not looking forward to that day at all in my house. I have a feeling she's going to literally lose her shit.
Now, do you have a kit in her backpack for her?
No. I offered to do that, and she literally hysterically cried. So I think I'm going to have to like sneak it in. I said, just put it in your locker. I actually bought the cutest little bag to put it in.
That's what I did,
totally lost it.
Yeah, I bought a pretty little makeup bag, and I put 2 pads, and they make these cleansing wipes for ladies.
Oh.
Clearly you could use just about anything, but they're like feminine wipes.
You kind of have to.
And I got 2 of those, and a new pair of panties, and a Ziploc bag. So I was like, if you're embarrassed to throw your underwear out.
Oh, that's so smart. I need to. That's a great idea.
So what?
I'll have to. I don't have the wipes. I should have the wipes.
Yeah, I bought
a little time.
I'll give you some because you have to buy like 50. But I was like, for her mental state, it's worth the $6 for the 50 to put the 2 wipes in there that she'll never use.
And does she keep it in her locker at school?
She keeps it in her backpack.
In her backpack.
Because her backpack goes to every class with her.
Right.
So like I was like, when we were talking about this, and I've now done this for Isla, who's way more cavalier about it. She's like, fine, just throw it in the backpack. I got it.
Yeah.
But I was like, it feels kind of like warm in your pants. And you may go, I wonder what that is. But don't wait too long. Because if you wait too long, everybody will know you got your period.
Yes.
So if you feel something like, that's odd, go to the teacher. You're in the 6th grade. The teachers are going to know, hey,
Yes.
And you can give them a wink, wink, wink. I need to go to the bathroom now.
Right.
Wink,
You're telling
wink,
Isla this?
Yes.
I can see her winking.
And I was like, she would be like, Mr. Spellman, I need to go to the bathroom.
You're like, do you have something in your eye?
Exactly. A little too much. Yeah. But I was like, it doesn't, I said this to Isla because this is totally what Isla would do. You have to get the bag before you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because you can't go to the bathroom and go, oh crap.
Yeah.
I need that bag for my backpack. So just get in a habit of like taking the bag. Maybe you need to put a little purse inside your backpack that is in.
Right.
So it doesn't look like I'm taking my period bag to the bathroom.
Right.
So yeah, Georgia never used it. She got her period at home on like a Sunday.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And then our friend's daughter got her period at home also.
Well, maybe I'll be so lucky to have that happen.
I was praying Georgia Kreischer would have died. She would have shit twice and died if that had happened to her at school.
Well, luckily, Sasha is at an all-girls school, so I think it happens quite a bit.
I would imagine.
Yeah, no,
that would be actually much better.
Well, and the funny thing is they have swimming. They have the pool there. So you always see 3 or 4 girls sitting along the side of the pool not swimming, and
Yeah.
they have their period this month.
Yeah. Yes.
They're not swimming and they get an out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
I know
they don't make them.
The tampon thing is an interesting thing too, because Georgia got her period in the summer.
Yeah.
And so she was like, but what do I do about swimming? And I said, well, you have 2 choices. You can either sit out, which is totally fine, or you can wear a tampon, but there's no middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she was like, I don't want to wear a tampon. I was like, no, it seems really kind of aggressive and a little bit scary, but it's really not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So if that's something you want to do, I will talk to you about it. I will, show you how one works in some kind of visual aid type way and let you figure it out on your own, because I'm not putting it in you, but hey. And then, you just let me know what you want. So she said, okay, I want to try it. Oh my God, 30 minutes. She was in the bathroom for 30 minutes. And I kept going, everything okay in there? She's like, fine, Mom, I'm fine. Aww. And she finally came out crying. And she's like, I can't do it. I can't figure it out. I can't do it. And I had gone online and shown her diagrams, anatomical pictures of this is where this is going, and this is the angle this has to go, and this is what you do, and this is what it feels like, and it's going to be weird.
Oh,
and she couldn't do it. And that was in June. And in July, we had that above ground pool in my backyard.
Oh, right. I remember.
And a bunch of kids came over, and she was like, can I have a tampon? And I said, sure. And she went in the bathroom, put it in, got in the pool.
Well, she had to, that's it. She had to figure it out.
It wasn't
like, oh, why am I doing this? She had an end goal where she was,
I'm going swimming.
Yeah, no,
I'm not missing this one. And so she just did it. And then ever since then, she doesn't wear them unless she's swimming.
Yeah.
She wears a pad.
That's what I've heard. My doctor said that the girls usually, until they're go to college, they typically don't use them.
Yeah. I mean, she really likes to go swimming. So for that, and when we go back, we were at the lake house for part of her period last year, and she's not going to swim at the lake for a week.
Right.
No. So she, she's a very mature young lady. She handled it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Anyway, now that we've got the period talk.
Yeah, I was going to say random conversation.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
So we had started this conversation that we said we would maybe finish this time about the hashtag MeToo movement.
Uh-huh.
Right? So I know you listened to my podcast with Bert.
I did.
Did you ever listen to it, Lynn?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I have a hashtag MeToo, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys do. Feel free to talk about whatever you're comfortable with, but this has been an interesting time, I think, in our country, right? In our psyche, sort of. I want to know why this started now. What do you think? Why do you think this started now?
Harvey.
Do you think it's Harvey?
I think I think it was, well, in our, the Women's March and all of that kind of in the last year or two, more women, I think, stepping forward, demanding more, demanding equal pay, demanding the same positions. But I think that him exposing, him being exposed, and Ashley Judd and Rose McGowan stepping forward, I think the most shocking thing is too that he destroyed their careers or attempted to, open the floodgates for all these other women to come forward. So I do think that was the kind of the really beginning of the big part of that movement. But I do think that women have felt more empowered in the last year or two and are demanding more. But the Women's March, a year ago, last January, was amazing, powerful, and for women and for young girls to see.
Right. So if Harvey was the tipping point, right, and he destroyed all these women's careers years ago, this stuff happened years ago. Why now? Why didn't they come forward years ago?
Well, I guess they did tell people, but people didn't believe them. I think fear. He yielded so much power that people were scared. And I don't think they're scared to come forward anknows because he lost everything. I mean, obviously he's still a very wealthy man and will be, but he's lost his position and they're, who knows what's going to happen with their company. But I think that it kind of opened the door for people to have less fear to do it, that they won't lose their careers.
Right.
But I guess, she told people and no one believed her, which is so sad.
It's really sad. And it's crazy making. Yeah. It's when you're telling a truth, right? And someone says that's not the truth. At a certain point you start going, is it the truth?
Right.
Did I make that up?
And it's just I can't even imagine for your confidence what that would do to you. And how little you feel.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Thinking, am I crazy? Did I make this bigger than it was? What, I mean, I know for me, when I went through the date rape that I went through, there were times in my brain I would go, well, if I hadn't been drunk, if I hadn't worn a short skirt, if I hadn't flirted all night long, if I hadn't, then none of these things would have happened. So because you try to right a boat. You really do. After that happened with me, I continued to talk to that guy. I continued to flirt with him at parties. I was trying to right the situation. I've learned now in therapy that that's what you do, is that you try to, you don't want that to have happened, especially with someone that someone that you had a personal relationship with, then you don't want that to be in part of your narrative. So some people try to, I remember when it was happening going, this is happening. Just let it happen. Just let it be over. Right? Just get it. Let it be done.
Because you tried to fight it and you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You knew he was going to win.
Yeah. So just get it over with. Just do it. It's just sex. It's just 2 minutes, right?
Well, you're also feeling you're feeling scared and in jeopardy, and it's the same thing that we've always been taught, that if someone is holding you up, give them what they want.
Right.
So you were basically giving him what he wanted.
Yep. To get it over with.
To get it over with and keep yourself safe, because Lord knows if you had continued to fight, what would have happened.
Right. And maybe nothing would have happened. Maybe it would have just been the same end result. But at a certain point, I remember going, just get it over with. Just be done. So that I can just get out of here, And I think part of that was bad for me to go, because part of me went, well, you just allowed it to continue. To blame yourself. I wonder if other women do that, if it's just the way that my brain tried to cope with it.
No, I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do too.
Absolutely.
And I wonder if that's one of the reasons women don't report things like this.
Well, I think that as part of this movement, I do think it will get reported more, but I graduated high school in 88. What year did you graduate?
88.
88. So we're the same age.
Yeah.
I think that you and I probably, without even knowing them having told us, just because based on that time, I think that was happening every weekend, to so many of our friends.
Yeah, it was happening a lot.
And nobody was reporting it. Nobody, because the ripple effect of what it would do to you and to that person who did this horrible thing to you. Right. You weren't willing to take that person down for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really would have gotten taken down.
Back then, yeah.
Back then. That's the thing. You could say this or that, and it's she's just a slut.
Yeah.
And a lot of, when you guys were talking about other things that happen, it's well, is it true? Is it rape or whatever you want to call it? Or is it just a bad decision that you now regret?
Right.
And And so no matter what would have happened in the 1980s and early 90s, that's just going to always be a bad decision. You made a bad decision and now you regret it. And now you're crying rape.
Right.
And so there's been a shift. How far is it now though?
Right.
Like, is it too far?
Right.
Where now everything is rape and you're not held accountable for your actions? Like,
yes,
it's not coming out right. It's not coming out right.
I hear what you're saying.
No, it's not coming. It's coming out perfectly.
Because one of the things to my daughter and my son, because both of them are, need to be responsible and held accountable for actions. And there is this fine line that then you sound like it sounds bad, but for me also, some of the things I talk to them about is don't ever put yourself in the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't drink so much and act in a certain way so that that's going to happen to you. But then you're saying, as long as they say no means no and it shouldn't happen.
Right.
So there is this fine line of don't put yourself in that situation. You have to be really, really careful. But then also she should know that if she says no, then that should be known regardless of how she acted.
Right.
It doesn't give someone permission for them to put their hands on her or force her to do something because she was acting that way. But I also don't want her to put herself in that situation.
Yeah, it's really complicated.
Because Lord knows I put myself in that situation probably every weekend. Got so drunk, acted, in a really stupid way. I mean, my friends and I used to have like competitions on how many boys we could kiss in a weekend. Well, if we're kissing them, they for sure thought they were going to get something else. But for us, that was just like a game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord, if my daughter ever does that.
I don't think mine ever will. I never did that. But I was all about how much alcohol can I consume in the amount of time that I'm out. And I blacked out constantly in college. And you think to yourself, that is a recipe for disaster, right? Because you are not in control of your faculties. And it doesn't make anything that happened to you right necessarily. But at the same time, it's that weird line where you go, I don't, like the Aziz Ansari thing we were talking about, right? Where the young lady, I really believe from everything I know, which is not, I'm sure, everything, sounds to me like she made a bad decision that she regretted, like you're saying. Yeah. She just had a bad date. She did stuff she didn't really want to do, but did anyway.
It's one of those things you go home and you're like cringing about what you did.
Yeah.
But
sometimes you need to sit with that.
Yes.
You need to sit with that.
Sometimes you need to say, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yes.
I mean, you do. You do. Because sometimes you are a fucking idiot.
Right.
That's growing up.
Totally.
It's growing up. And then, now it's, I'm a fucking idiot. But I don't know. It's just like with that situation, that did sound like I don't know much of anything other than what I've heard, but it did sound like it's just a really bad date.
Yeah.
And you're going to have those.
You're going to have those.
Sure.
Right.
And guys are creepy.
Sometimes guys are creepy and not always going to match what they like and what you like. But how do you teach that to your daughter? How do you say, okay, you go out on a date. This guy wants you to blow him, right? You blow him, you regret it. You're not a bad person. You're now no longer, you're not dirty. No, you're not like tainted.
Yes.
You're not a slut.
That was 1 hour of your life.
It was.
Yeah.
You made
hopefully
a bad decision.
It wasn't an hour. That's a long blowjob.
Yeah, seriously. What's
a long time
going on over your house?
Dislocated.
Well, wasn't he
just
reciprocating?
Just make sure none of our husbands hear that.
Well, we would hope.
Yeah.
We would hope.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's another thing that. How do you teach that? How do you teach that? It's really hard to.
It doesn't define you. It's not who you are. You made a bad decision. Learn from it and move on, and be a better person because of it. You're not a worse person. You're a better person because now you know. Now you know.
You've learned, right?
Yes. But the thing that drove me crazy about his scenario, and a few more have come forward, is that she came forward like the day after he won the Golden Globe.
Yeah.
And then the same with the James Franco, which everyone forever has heard James Franco is
a dog.
A dog, sleazy. But any girl who goes on a date with him knows that.
Exactly.
So I just like, I kind of, I just hate, I feel like it's the wrong, it does belittle the movement when these women just do it after. Where were you in October when everyone else was coming forward? If you had this happen before then, if you had these stories, why do you wait till they win an award to come forward? Are you,
exactly.
I mean, maybe you're angry that he won an award and don't think he deserves one. That's why you're coming forward. Or, you know, the worst side of it is he's in the spotlight, so now you want to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a weird thing. Even Louis C.K. I sounds to me like he was a bit pervy.
Yeah.
And the girl said no thanks, and he went no problem. I don't understand why it had to be such a big crazy thing.
You and I have talked about this before, that I think you're probably similar in that it takes a lot to offend me.
Oh, yeah.
I am not easily offended.
No.
So when people like are like, oh, and I'm like, no, we're good. I mean, I worked at Playboy for years, and I never was offended by anything that I saw happen there. And then also, I don't have a Me Too in that I worked in male-dominated industries. Well, at Playboy, and then I worked at Clear Channel, which is pretty much all men. And I had amazing male bosses, like who did nothing but, you know, support me and want to raise me up and make sure that I got what I deserved. So I was really lucky. And people would think that working at Playboy, you know, you're for sure like sexual harassment and stuff going on. And it was actually the healthiest environment I've ever worked in. It was amazing. So fun because nobody got offended. It was all light people, like just people who roll with it and didn't get offended easily. And I think that's why we all had so much fun.
And you know, sexuality is part of human nature. Being a sex object is not necessarily negative. Right? It can be negative, but it doesn't have to be negative. Marilyn Monroe was one of the most beautiful women ever. Why is it negative that people call her a sex object in some ways?
Right.
I don't think that's... They're not one in the... You know, they're not... It's like two sides of one coin, sort of. And so... It's a hard thing, I think, to teach too. What is bad? What is true objectification, and what is admiring someone for being maybe more sexual or sensual than what I am, walking around in my turtleneck.
Right.
You know? That's a beautiful thing, to be in touch with your sensuality and your sexuality, and it's really healthy for a lot of people. I don't know that I necessarily need to be super sensual all the time, but there are people who are naturally that way.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. And, you know, a lot of the women in Playboy, I looked at Playboy when I was a kid, because my dad had a box in our storage of Playboys.
Of course he did.
I would sneak back. I hung out with boys always when I was a kid. So, of course, my 3 cousins and I would go back there and look at Playboys. So I thought they were just beautiful women.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're just beautiful
Well, and they
women.
were always shot very well. You know, they always hired the best photographers. I mean, they still do. What always drove me crazy when I worked there is when someone would refer to it as pornography. I'd be like, you have no clue what pornography is. Yeah. Playboy doesn't have sex acts.
Right, exactly.
It has beautiful women posing alone in the magazine. Now they have little supplements where they put women together, but they're not doing anything to each other.
Right.
But they are, the centerfolds, it's by themselves, and they're beautifully shot. They're beautiful women. They're meant to be more girl next door looking, you know, like they're not the statuesque models. I mean, there were playmates who were like 5'1", these little tiny little petite things who would never have made it as a model, but they were meant to be more like that was his whole goal, and just to say it's okay to feel sexy.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to achieve. But I just was like, this is not pornography. If you want pornography, look at Hustler, look at Penthouse, where they actually have people doing things to each other.
Right.
This is just art.
It's just nude photographs.
And it's the same thing that you see at Maxim. I mean, they have the exact same pictures. I mean, it's kind of, do you consider Maxim pornography? Because it's the same,
No. Yeah.
Anyways, that was my big argument. I went to Darren's like 10-year high school reunion, and we were both working there at the time. And he had been like president of his class and graduated at the top of his class, and some girl was really drunk and came up to him and said, you know, I'm so disappointed. I can't believe that, you know, after being such a great, you know, high school student, that now you're working in pornography, and you're she basically said that, like, promoting rape on women. And I was just I was the driver that night. So I just literally went off on this girl and was like, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
No.
So
well, you know,
angry.
the thing about it is, too, is, you know, there's this piece, I think, that gets a little lost in equality, right? We are equal. We all put our pants on the same way. We all eat food the same way. We all do our jobs pretty much the same way. There's no reason why anyone should get more pay than anyone else.
Right.
But we are not equal. Like, a man can't carry a baby. A woman can't do things men can do. We're not the same. So I think a woman, in some ways, wants to be revered by a man as being beautiful, or as being a bit, maybe not an object, but of something that he admires in a way that has to do with her being a woman that is sensual. Men are more sex driven and oriented, I think, in their wiring than women are. Mm-hmm. Women are more broadly wired. I think men are like eat, sleep, drink, fuck kind of wired. So I think, I don't know how to formulate what I'm thinking, but I know that in my relationship, Bert thinks I am the most beautiful, sexy woman on the planet, even though I'm clearly not. Clearly, there are a lot of women who are more beautiful and more sexy than I am. But that's what you would like in your relationship, right? So in your general thoughts about women, having this thought of them being this beautiful, desirable, not in a brain way, but in a more base kind of sexual way, is not a bad thing. I think it's a really healthy thing, as long as it's not the only thing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like that's bad too. You shouldn't just want me for sex. But why not? Why shouldn't you want the sex? And then the rest of the stuff comes too. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm maybe not formulating
Well, and the other
the best
interesting
way,
thing is, I mean, there would be, so like, say, the issue with, like, females in the workplace is, I do feel like, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, if there's like a really hot female at work, especially if they're in a position of power, like, all the men are like, want to fuck them, or like want to, like, want to have some sort of relationship with them. But when, like, if I had a hot boss, I wasn't like, damn, I need to get him. That's not the way I looked at it.
Right. It's a basic difference. It's the difference between male and female. Really, it is. And for a woman to sit and go, the way that you're wired is bad, is wrong. Just as it is wrong for a man to say, oh, the way that you're wired is wrong. They're not wrong. They're just different. And I think respecting each other's kind of way of processing the world is really important. To go, Bert feels love and connection through sexuality, and I don't. That's not how I feel love and connection from him. I need it from other things, from feeling cared for. And I don't know, I think that gets lost a little bit. I was thinking about this in relation to how does the MeToo movement affect young boys, right? Mm-hmm. And it's good that they are seeing that women need to be treated well and they need to be respected, and there's no means no and all of that. But, I know, here's an example. In 6th grade, when George was in 6th grade, her 6th grade teacher required that the boys hold the door open for the girls when they came in the classroom. And she almost got fired for it because it was sexual discrimination. She was discriminating against the boys, according to the parents in that classroom. In my classroom, in my kid's classroom. And I thought that was the most ridiculous, stupid, small-minded, everybody's equal.
Because she's trying to teach him to be a gentleman.
She's just trying to give them manners.
Yeah, manners.
And to say, why is it wrong for a man to say, let me hold the door open for you? He's not saying, you can't hold the door open.
Well, and not only that, what girl doesn't love it when someone comes around and opens the door for them? Like the car door. It's so funny because my husband and I just celebrated our 17th anniversary, and we took a Lyft to dinner on Saturday night because we were going to drink. And the Lyft came and he walked through the same door as me, and I'm like dressed nicely, I'm gonna have to slide all the way across the seat, and so I'm like, well, why don't you go around the other side? And he was like, I just wanted to open the door for you.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
I know now why I married you. This is why.
But like that kind of stuff after time just kind of slides by. You know, like you forget, like
away.
and you don't care. But then when it happens, you forget how nice it is to actually have someone open your door, wait for you to get in, and then nicely close the door behind you. And then I actually thought, wow, I really enjoyed that. That was nice. Right. And then I thought, does that not make me a feminist? Does that make me bad? Because I just wanted someone to open the door for me.
Exactly.
Well, going back to your question, which was, what does it do for young men?
Yes.
Now, I think that at this point in time, like, they're so confused. They're going to be so confused because, like, you know, us growing up, I remember my dad be like, that boy better open the door for you or you're not getting in his car. Like, and I was like, Dad, no one does that anymore.
Right.
Now, truly, they don't do it.
No.
There is no opening a door. There is no, let me pull your chair out for you. Let me help you, you know. And yes, I don't need anyone to do all that shit. I can do it all myself. Of course I can.
Right.
So can Sydney, so can anyone. But basic manners, basic niceties just aren't around anymore. I mean, it's more than just the Me Too movement. It's just they're not taught anything.
So the
younger kids.
You saying that they're wired that way, I think they're being unwired.
I do too. I 100% do. That was part of my point.
Yeah, I think they're being unwired. So they've been wired this way a long time, and I think that the kids in our kids' generation are being unwired, and they're going to have to figure out, and it's going to be a lot of what they learn at home, how they rewire themselves. And honestly, like I also, like, because I have an older son and a younger daughter, I train him that he is her, you know, he has to take care of her, make sure no one messes with her.
Right.
My brother did that for me. I mean, my brother, when I was in high school, he was in college and found out that this boy who I'd been dating a long time cheated on me. He and his little football friends drove home from college to mess with this guy.
All right.
Because that's what my parents had trained him to do.
Yeah.
You know? And so...
But if it's not socially acceptable, if you train Elijah to do that, and he goes to this classroom where the parents are saying, you absolutely, as a boy, will not hold the door open for a girl.
So stupid.
That must be really confusing for kids.
Yeah.
It's got to be
very confusing.
Paralyzing in some ways to go, do I open the door?
That's
or do I not open the door?
the most asinine thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. She almost got fired. She literally, like, almost had a massive breakdown because of it, because she was
it all the boys' parents, or was it like one fucker?
No, it was a group of parents and some girls' parents.
Girls' parents?
It was girls' parents and boys' parents that were like, no, this is sexual discrimination. You are discriminating against my kid because of their sex.
It's so hyper
stupid
that it, I mean, I sent you that, I listened to that NPR podcast on, it was two different situations, but there was this girl who's like, I forget her name now, Kelly something, but she's like a big sex podcaster. And she's like, I wish I could remember her name, but she will like literally be like the origins of an orgasm, like, and talks to it like, but in this like young fun voice, but like detailed, like if you're not getting it this way, you need to try this way. So she was like beloved by, you know, the young 20 something. She was huge, making tons and tons of money, and she used one wrong word about the LGBTQ community. It was a word that, like, it's kind of like us using the N-word. Like, we do not use the N-word, and she is not LGBTQ, so she should not have used this word.
Right.
And she used to go around colleges and tour, and she shows up at a college, and as always has, like, sold out. Everyone cheers, goes crazy, booed. And she's like up there trying to talk over it.
Right.
But like, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea what I did.
Right.
And finds out after that it was that community who become the, you know, the activists. And they came from all over because they knew she was going to be there, and just to boo her.
Wow.
And it literally destroyed her.
Wow.
Destroyed her because of one word. Like, because if you use one word that it becomes offensive to a group of people.
It's a microaggression.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Well, that's just...
And all that energy wasted.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you can't make a mistake either in this world.
Yeah.
Because once you make a mistake, because of social media and everything else that's out there, it gets magnified. And then this woman's career is over. I mean, I didn't listen to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I didn't either, and I meant to.
But
it's fascinating.
But so she used one word, and it probably wasn't in a negative context. Like, she wasn't like, you know... ostracizing the community, probably. I mean, I don't know.
No, yeah.
But it's
no,
like,
she wasn't. And she thought, like, she'd heard the word
but
a ton.
she might as well have, because that's the effects of what happened.
And she was, like, the biggest supporter. And which is so crazy, like had been. So what she ended up doing was reaching out to people from the other extreme side of her, because she was hated by young conservatives who have podcasts. Hated. Like they used to make fun of her, and, you know, it was like this very much, you know, them against her thing. And she reached out to a few of them and didn't even want to do it necessarily on air. Like, just was like, I want to have a conversation.
Right.
Why are we so far apart? Like, why do we have to be enemies? Why does it always have to be this group pitting against that group?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it actually, like, did bring some of them together in a positive way.
Right.
She still has never recovered from it. And it was so funny because if you listen to her podcast before, she has this, like, super, like, fun, light voice. It's kind of like, I feel like what probably was one of the reasons she did so well. She had this amazing voice. Mm-hmm. Like, Bert has an amazing voice, you know? And now if you listen to her, like, first of all, she doesn't do as many. She used to do, like, weekly, now maybe once a month.
Right.
And she sounds, like, defeated.
She's probably...
it's so sad.
She's probably watching every word she says.
Yeah. She's so careful. And she had to, oh my gosh, I wish I could remember, but she, like, instead of she couldn't use vagina and penis. So she was, like, saying her part, his part. Like, she was, like...
Come on. Are you serious?
Yes.
See,
she had to become so careful about everything she was saying. She'd been very unscripted before. Now everything was very scripted for fear of saying the wrong thing.
Everyone's so serious.
Yeah.
Everything is so serious. Like that date. So serious.
Yeah.
It's a bad date.
Yeah.
I don't want to say get over it, because obviously she did have it did affect her, but it was a bad date. You need to move on.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure that not everyone wants to hear that, but, you know, and she said a word that she probably shouldn't have, but she didn't mean to. She made a mistake. Move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody moves on anymore. Everything is stuck. Everything is positive, is there. It's negative. It's, you know, it's just no room for error.
There's no room for error, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Right.
One mistake
and they're done.
Everything's dead. And that's just not true. Even with someone like Louis C.K.
Yeah.
There was no conversation about that. Your career's just over.
Right.
And you know what? Really,
and I'm curious to see, is it?
No, I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
I think it's on pause.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with, I'm not upset or offended by Louis C.K.
No.
Nor by Aziz. You know, like, he wasn't someone I watched all the time anyways, but I don't have an issue with him. You know, like, there are certain people that I would have more of an issue with. They're not one of them. And so I don't feel like their career should be over.
It shouldn't. They don't deserve that for being pervy.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just pervy.
So they're just pervy.
They're not the people saying you need to have sex with me or this, or you're not going to have a job. You're done in this industry. And,
right.
And there are those people.
Yeah, totally.
And you know what? They kind of do deserve, those people deserve to have an effect. They deserve to have, you know, some repercussions for their actions and what they've done.
Totally.
Bad date is bad date.
Date's a bad date.
Can I masturbate in front of you? I don't. I'm not really into that.
That's my thing.
Thanks,
That's not my thing. But
not my thing.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.
But he walked away.
Yeah.
He walked away. He stopped. And I know it's not just that simple.
No, it's not, I'm sure.
And it never is.
No.
But everyone that's on the bandwagon makes it black and white.
That's very true.
And that's not fair.
No, it's not fair.
No.
Now, did you hear about Clarence Thomas having another accusation against him?
No.
Is this a recent one?
Mm-hmm. Oh God, I'm going to screw it up. A judge in Alaska just accused him of inappropriate behavior, and the Supreme Court spokesperson issued an emphatic denial. No. And I was listening this morning, they were like, this is the exact same tactic he used with Anita Hill.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't do it. No. Mm-hmm. Nope, didn't do it. No. So they're talking about, I guess, or they were talking in the news outlet I was listening to about, you know, impeaching him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, somebody says you got a tail.
Yeah.
Maybe. Second person says you got a tail. Okay. The third person says you got a tail. You probably got a fucking tail.
Yeah.
You probably got a tail. So
it's so, you know, even you know, I never believed the stupid tabloid magazines.
Yeah.
But having worked in public relations for a year, I remember years someone said to me, if you see it on the cover of like an Us or an In Touch more than once, it's true.
Right.
And it'll come out. It'll eventually reveal. How long have they been saying Jennifer Aniston and what's his name are splitting up? And I was like, bullshit. They have the cutest relationship. They're amazing.
Right.
And they're splitting up.
And they're splitting up.
Yeah.
Devastation.
But it's like, it is true. If someone's, making, like if this stuff is showing up 9 out of 10 times, it'll eventually unpeel itself to be true.
Yeah. One accusation is one thing.
Yeah.
But multiple accusations, then you have to start going, wait a minute, hold on. Something's rotten here. Something's not working.
I can't even believe that he was accused before he was sworn in and that they still let him.
Who are you talking about now?
Clarence
Trump?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that one. And by the way, speaking of the Trump one, in my years at Playboy, I worked really closely with Karen McDougal.
Yeah.
Loved her. She was Playmate of the Year when I worked there.
Yeah.
She was my pick that year. I loved her. I helped her apartment hunt in Sherman Oaks, drove around with her for days trying to find her an apartment. She's a good girl. She is a very sweet, kind, comes from a good home girl, and she is not lying. That is all 100% true.
Oh, I believe all of it. Yeah.
So it's like, how many are out there of his? There's just got to be so many skeletons in his closet.
Yeah. Totally. But you know what? It is incredulous that he got elected with all that's going on in this environment with MeToo.
And he actually could say, grab her pussy.
And people still voted for him. Women still voted for him.
That's crazy. But maybe that's what kind of set it up. If we now have a president who can go on and say that, and I think that started why women got really pissed.
Right.
And maybe that kind of started
the slope.
Like, now we have a president. That's not okay. So why are we accepting that? And then we had the Women's March soon thereafter. And now we're having more people come forward. So maybe that.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the tipping point, actually.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
It could have been.
It's awful.
Who knows? It's a crazy time.
It is a crazy time. It's really embarrassing.
It is really
I just
embarrassing.
cringe all the time with something new. I just am like, oh my God, I can't even believe that our kids are being raised in this insanity and this craziness.
I agree.
I just feel like we're failing them so bad with these leaders.
We are.
And they're not leaders. They're jokes.
They're just people.
They are jokes, is true. But how do you fix it? How do you fix it?
Yeah, well, I think as we've seen in the last week, the young people, sadly, are going to be the ones who fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do what we can do. And obviously, I think that people realize now that their vote matters more than ever. And hopefully that will carry on, through that, what ends up happening. And I don't know, that's just our country everywhere, is people get so outraged and then it fizzles.
Yeah.
The outrage has to stay.
Yes, it does. The outrage has to stay, but why did it stay back in the 60s and it's not staying now? Is our focus too split? Do we have too much?
I mean, there's so much going on right now. There's so many battles. I mean, what battle do you choose?
Well, it was that way in the 60s too a bit. I mean, there was Vietnam, there was the women's movement, the civil rights movement.
Right.
Those were enormous things happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
And we were erupting everywhere and demanding change. But that is not happening here. And I wonder too, because they can't, they're so divided now in a different way than they were in the past. I don't feel like there's hey, what's the greater good conversation.
There is no
right?
greater good. It's, I'm going to win. I'm going to get what I want. And anything else is not okay.
Yeah.
There's no okay, we have a problem. Let's figure out how to solve it. Like, you might solve it differently than I would. Right. But there's just a flat out, no, guns aren't a problem.
Right.
I mean, there's no acknowledgement.
Right.
On one way, it's my way or the highway. There's no working together.
But how do you fix that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. And that's scary.
But somebody better figure it out.
Somebody needs to figure it out. I mean, we need some of our leaders in the Senate and in Congress to actually to come together, even if it's 3 from each side, and them say, we're going to work together. If the rest of you want to join us, but we're going to work together to compromise.
Right. Something like that.
But nobody's willing to do it.
No, they're not.
Because everyone's too worried about winning.
Or keeping their seat.
Or keeping their seat.
I'm going to be up for election in a few years. So if I look like I'm conceding to you, even in the tiniest, even if it's for the greater good, I'm not going to do it.
Maybe they should just fire all of them and start over.
I know.
No elder statesman. Just start from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? No lobbyists allowed. Just what are the issues on the table and how do we fix it? Like the movie Dave. Remember the movie Dave?
Yeah.
When he hired his little accountant with his little ching-ching machine. It came ching-ching. And he came in and, here's the problem with the budget.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need a little bit of Charles Grodin. Isn't that his name, Charles Grodin?
Yeah.
To come in and crunch some
honestly,
numbers.
Yeah. It's like when you can, the Russia investigation, Trump itself, like the plethora of things coming off of, the women, the lying, the tweeting, and then now the gun control. And there's just so many, your mind is like absolutely all over the place and being outraged and upset.
Right. Yeah, it's a hard place to be.
Yeah.
I think it's hard too when you look at, I think we've said this before in this podcast. We live in like two different countries, right? The South and some of the Midwest is so very different than the metropolitan parts of this country. They're like two different countries. So how do you bring those people together if neither side is willing to compromise? Because I don't think the liberals they may be more willing to compromise than the conservatives, but I guess when you give so much, you expect the other side to give back. Maybe that's the problem.
Right. So, but someone always wants to feel like they won.
But there doesn't need to be a winner. Everybody needs to win.
Right.
I know, but that's not how
they always
thinks.
just they have to feel like they came out on the positive end of some deal. It's crazy. One of the other things I was listening to and I don't remember when this happened, but years ago when Eric Holder was the Attorney General under Obama, he, how the advertising firms, maybe it started 10 years ago, started doing tobacco control ads. And basically it was geared towards making smoking seem really uncool to the younger generation so that we would cut down on the amount of young kids who started smoking. And they did it. Most of them just didn't, they just did the campaigns for the ad console, didn't charge for them. Mm-hmm. So Eric Holder reached out to them and said, you need to create campaigns that make having a gun to kids seem like the stupidest and dumbest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And the outrage that, because of the NRA and the power that came back at him was such a huge backlash. It just shut it all down. But that's now I feel like maybe that is what will happen, is that you need to I don't even think they need to do it. I think that kids today think guns are super uncool.
Yeah.
At least where we are. Maybe not in the South.
Where we are, definitely.
Yeah, where we are. They have a different purpose in the South, though. That's the thing. Even the shooting that happened in Florida, Florida is many things. Parts of Florida are just like Georgia. And parts of Florida are nothing like anywhere else in the country. And parts of Florida are like metropolitan. So I'm not familiar with that part of Florida, but I don't think it's a bunch of rednecks who go hunting gators on the weekends. Mm-hmm. People where I grew up, guns are very different than here. They are in some ways sort of a necessity because, my grandfather had 250 head of cattle, and the coyotes would get after the cattle, and you had to know how to use a gun to take care of. You don't shoot your cow, you shoot the coyote. Yeah. Now, not with an assault rifle.
Well, that's it too.
Right.
That's the thing. That shouldn't even be available to the public. There's no purpose for that except for destruction.
Right.
But a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol, I grew up with those guns having purpose and having specific purpose. We would float the river all summer long, and there are animals in the river like cottonmouth snakes that you want to shoot because some of them get really aggressive and start coming at your boat, right? Or we're never going to get in the river. I understand we're in their habitat, but they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're shooting an endangered species. There's snakes fucking everywhere in the South. So Sandy went floating the river with us 2 years ago, and she was like, all of your cousins have guns on their belts. And I'm like, yeah. And you'll be really glad for that if a big old snake tries to get in the boat with you, because I've had snakes try to get in the boat with me many times, and you just shoot them and you're done. But again, that would never happen in LA or Baltimore or Chicago, or you know what I mean? So,
right.
And you could theorize that you could kill this snake with a paddle. Let me tell you something. You can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't.
I totally get that. I totally get why we need guns.
We don't need
but we
them.
Don't, but that they're useful.
They have a purpose. Yeah.
But I don't understand and I know this was not your intention for this today's
Oh, it's
topic.
fine. No, this is fine.
I don't understand why there's such opposition to banning assault rifles.
I don't either.
Banning those type of guns. There's no reason. There was like this something I was watching on TV, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was like, this is a workplace shooting, and when our founders wrote the Constitution, and it's just like bayonet that takes 2 minutes to load.
The laws were created.
The laws were created
when it took you 2 to 3 minutes to reload a gun,
right,
with one bullet,
right,
and that it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I get that, and I get that. I mean, my family grew up on ranch. We had, we had farms and ranches and cattle and sheep and everything else. There's guns. I totally understand the usefulness. I'm not saying ban all guns, but there's no reason for assault rifles. There's
not. And my dad doesn't think there's any need for assault rifles except for people who collect guns. And I'm like, okay, if that's really what you're going to stake your flag in the ground, then those people should have a special licensing, testing, vetting that they have to go through to be a collector. It's okay. You can collect guns. That's totally fine. That's part of our freedom in America. But they should have stricter, really stringent regulations for people who are that specific.
Or
because
ammunition.
that kid that shot all those kids up in Florida, I guarantee he didn't collect guns.
No. Well,
and he wouldn't have gone through all those steps.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and the fact that he had psychiatric treatment within a year.
Yeah.
And no background that dug that up, that found that out. I mean, it's crazy that he was able to get that gun at as easy as he was at such a young age. Is really scary. But the why is there so much why is the NRA and gun loving people so opposed? Is that the other part of that podcast about saying the wrong thing was a Louisiana, I think she may have been a state senator, who there was not a shooting at a high school, but there was a weapons at the school. Local sheriff gets called, and so they're all what are they called in Louisiana, the little towns?
Parishes.
Mm-hmm. So, in this local parish, the sheriff goes to the school. He says to his officers are already on site, and they have the kids who brought the guns and handcuffs. Where are the weapons? Oh, I got them in my trunk. Opens up the car, and it took the sheriff 3 minutes inspecting one of the weapons to realize that it was not a real gun. It was a model. It was like maybe a BB or some other,
right.
But it looked so real.
Yeah. It
literally took him to realize that it took him 2 to 3 minutes to realize there was no cocking device on it, to realize it was not a real gun.
A functioning gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, police officers have maybe 3 seconds before they fire on a suspect who's holding a gun.
Right.
They won't know that wasn't a real gun.
No.
They had to let the students go because there was no law about bringing a fake gun to school, which they realized it was fake. So the sheriff couldn't arrest these kids, which he wanted to send a message. Mm-hmm. So the state senator comes in and says, what can we do to prevent this from happening? And he's like, we need to pass a law there's a law that you cannot bring a gun to school, that you can also not bring a fake gun to school. And she couldn't even get the law. And the sheriff supported it, and all of those in that local parish supported it. Like on talk radio, it was predominantly people were positive when they spoke about it. She goes to their assembly to bring it, and all the other state senators are like, no, we won't bring it to a vote, because the NRA would not support it, had come in against, or not, they wouldn't come in opposed to it. They would not say anything. And people are waiting to see what they say. Mm. And any type, even though it says fake gun, and it specifically said fake gun in the law that she had written, it's considered gun control. And anything that's considered gun control
is a no.
Even if it is the most common sense. And this woman did not get reelected.
Wow.
Even though she was gun toting, carried her gun in her purse, totally supported, believed in guns, her family hunted, were, smart gun owners, she was now perceived as being anti-gun because she tried to bring a law that said you could not bring a fake gun to school.
It's because people are stupid.
Yeah. And you're just trying to save these kids' lives.
Yeah.
From being shot.
It's not the kids that, it's the kids with the fake guns.
Yeah, would be shot.
They're going to get shot. And
Right.
maybe some victim, innocent person standing near them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is that the crazy? My mouth was just, as listening to this story, I was like, this is a joke.
That's
you
crazy.
can't even. So when people say now we're finally going to be able to get these laws passed, and I'm like, if she couldn't get that passed, I have zero faith. And it's sad, but I have zero faith that anything positive will come of it. I do not know that they're going to be able to pass anything.
Oh, that's disheartening. Now let me ask you this. Do you think there's any correlation between that, the love affair and absolute will not have gun control, and the hashtag MeToo? Is there any correlation? Do you think men in general America feel emasculated by women becoming empowered, and so they're holding on to their guns? I don't know. Maybe not. I just thought I'd pose a question. So I wonder, in those small towns where women haven't changed a lot, I don't think, since forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the general atmosphere of our country is changing and it makes them feel more anxious,
more threatened
about their values and morals and position in the world, to go, there's more ethnic groups here. Now women are getting empowered. Now all these things are changing. I just want my gun and my truck and my hound dog.
Yeah.
And fuck all you. I'm going to put my Confederate flag up and fuck all you people who want all this change. I don't want change. I actually didn't ask for any of this change. Everything in my point of view is okay. I just wonder. I don't even know if there's any correlation at all, but I just wonder because a lot of people that I love very much, carry guns.
Yeah.
And fly the Confederate flag. And, there's a part of me that has to disconnect from our beliefs, which are different, to see that we are all human beings and that my relationship with this person doesn't have anything to do with a Confederate flag. He treats me great. I have a lot of cousins that are like this that I adore, but they are very, very different from me.
I can see that. I can kind of see that. I can see that the subsect of our country that do, have the guns and no one's going to take my gun out of my cold dead hand, or are they going to take my gun type thing.
Yeah.
I can see they may see that this USA is changing and it's so much not what my United States was like.
I definitely hear that from.
So I can see that. I don't know if they're processing it like the Me Too, and I think it's maybe the same sentiment,
right?
Where the whole Me Too. A lot of these guys who have been accused or whatever, they always come across like, I didn't know what I was doing was wrong, which is kind of bullshit because you told someone that that they're never going to work again. Like, how could you not know that was wrong?
Right.
But the same token is, I didn't know that was wrong because for me that was what we always did.
Right.
And people who had guns, they could easily say, well, it's what I grew up. I grew up like this. Why do I need to change it? Because these, everyone else around me is changing.
Right.
But and I can also see how that those people who love their guns don't necessarily have in their mind see any correlation between these kids, I put that in quotes, that are shooting up schools.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Is that those aren't my people.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think it's a lot of the gun people are saying. So then they shove it off. That's a mental health problem. Well, we're not dealing with mental health in this country either. We're not dealing with anything in this country. Something's got to start being dealt with.
Right.
And it's because it all kind of intertwines.
That's my point. I think it does all intertwine. Somehow, I think it is all the same issue of you're either with me or against me. I just wonder if a push from one side causes a push from the other side, which causes another push, and then it just becomes a push, and until people stop pushing each other around.
Yeah.
I think it even started in the South with the bathrooms being
not letting transgenders use,
exactly. That was a big deal in the South.
It was. I have to go to North Carolina, which is where they passed that law, and for work, and it's like the furniture market, and I had a ton of designers who wouldn't go. They're like, I'm not going to North Carolina. I'm not going to support that state right now,
right?
Because of that law,
right?
So, and from what I understand, like so many people in North Carolina didn't want that law either,
right? No, they didn't. I don't know how,
it's definitely there is. I see more and more people becoming more active, like people who weren't before. Mm-hmm. And I think that whether it was Trump or Cruz or whoever, I mean, Trump's the worst, but whatever Republican if they had, had won, that there were so many, I think, in the South and in the middle of the country who hated Obama so much and were in so much pain for the last 8 years because all they thought that he was destroying our country.
Right.
Whereas we were in heaven. That it became extreme. And so it's now a total extreme on both ends.
Everybody's extreme.
Yeah, it's I have to win. There's no in the middle.
Yeah. You're either with me or against me. Which really stinks.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, I guess, that people are talking about it. They're talking about all of these issues, maybe at the top of their lungs, maybe sometimes unnecessarily so. But at least I guess they're being talked about. I don't know if talk necessarily generates change, but it does generate, hopefully thoughts. Maybe someone can think of something in a different way than they did before, or learn something about the other the other side.
Right.
I know I had a friend who was like, I wouldn't even talk to anybody in my family if they flew the Confederate flag. And I'm like, so, okay, so then I have no relationship with anyone in my family.
Right.
Because we have an inherently very deeply different belief system. That's what's wrong with the entire country. That's why we can't come to a compromise. I refuse to do that. I refuse to accept their beliefs for my own, but I am respectful enough to say, you have every right to have your beliefs, because that's what this country was built on.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we're missing. We're missing people like you. We're missing people like you who are like, yeah, I have Confederate loving, gun toting relatives, but I still love them.
I love them to death.
They're my relatives, right?
They're my people,
right?
Too.
People are just so reactionary right now.
But
there's
imagine
no thoughtful conversation.
If our leaders and our government people that were in charge were like, okay, I have my beliefs, but I love these people too. That's what we're missing.
I think
that's what we're missing. There is no, I'm going to hear you out. Even though I don't believe what you say, I'm going to hear you out. There's no hearing out. There's just talking over each other and everything in between. And it just sucks.
Because really, if you suss out the noise, you can get to what's the core problem, right? What is causing me pain, or what is causing me to stay awake at night? And a lot of the times, it's a similar issue. A lot of the time, not all the time, but I think there's almost everything can be boiled down to a few simple issues. Do you want our kids to be safe? Yes. Are they safe now? No. Then how do we help that? And approach it from there, even with the people who love their guns and don't want them regulated. How do you answer that question? No, I don't give a shit about my kids. Right. I don't care if they're safe.
Yeah.
I think it's to go from the bottom up, as opposed to trying to peel away the tops of, well, you got a gun in every room and you never had a gun before and you think they're all bad. Instead of coming at it through that layer, it might be better if everybody just starts at the bottom. I don't know. Anyway, hashtag MeToo.
Yeah. There's so many hashtags now. Oy.
I know, but hopefully there won't be as many hashtag MeToos after this recent, the incidents that have been exposed, and hopefully more women will feel more comfortable with their responsibility in an incident like that may have happened to them. It's a really hard thing to process as a woman when you are taken advantage of in that way, to be able to recover from it. For some people is really, really hard, especially if someone is saying that didn't really happen or it's partly your fault. Hopefully that part of it will change, and women will calm down also and stop thinking everything is rape and maybe just a regular date that goes bad is just a regular date that goes bad, and not everything is a victimization, because it's not. It's not. Even in my instance, I learned so much about myself from healing from that, and I think that was a gift. Even though the incident wasn't a gift, there's a gift in everything if you look for it, but you have to really look for it, to just being able to appreciate yourself in a different way and value yourself in a different way, to go, that I didn't deserve that. I really understand that no matter what, I didn't deserve that to happen to me. If a woman can come away feeling empowered by that somehow, I think that's good. It's a terrible thing to live through. I would never want Rose McGowan or Ashley Judd or any of those people to have gone through, or any regular woman who is not in the spotlight, to have had to survive something like that done to them. But you have to find a way to embrace a healing. If you believe in God or whoever, you have to believe that sometimes things happen so that you can have an awakening or a learning or something. And maybe that was the purpose of these ladies going through this, was so that we as a society could have a little bit of an awakening.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
That results in some change, maybe.
That results in some change. We just got to figure out how to help these boys understand how to be, when to be, and how to be men, and, empowering.
I'm still training my son to open the door for people.
Yeah.
And if they don't want it, they can say no, thank you. But
yeah.
Well, I made Carter on Sunday when we were at Sandy's. I bought Lately a little bamboo plant. And so we went over, and I was like, no, you need to go give that to Laylee and tell her thank you for having us. And he was like, why? I said, because that's what you do. She's put all this together, this ceremony, and you need to respect your elders.
Yeah.
And so he did, and he went and gave it to her, and she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But, it's like little things like that, I was always taught like grandparents are it, and like,
supreme.
We don't have, Eric's mom passed away, and we have Susie, which is a little different, but I still make sure like we treat her like a grandmother, and we, get her the Mother's Day present, and we do this and we do that. We do everything like that I did as a kid. And you always treated your grandparents like way up on a pedestal.
Yeah. They're
Just
like kings and queens.
out of respect. And like our kids don't have that. And like, I know that we should have manners classes for our kids. Like, it's important. It is important. Like, I know we do it with the Girl Scouts.
I have talked to so many people about that, and someone did find one.
Oh, really? For boys?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because I had to do it. I had to go to every Friday night. I went to dancing school where you had to wear the white gloves. And we learned,
like cotillion?
We did it. Yep, in cotillion.
Oh,
you did
go.
Cotillion? Cotillion's so expensive. It's like $25,000 or something.
Well, this was the 80s, and it was in Ohio. But yeah, we did it. And wore the white gloves, and we did. It's so funny. My white gloves always had M&M stains on them.
Jeannie.
But I'd always have two different ones, because of course it would be like 5 minutes before we're walking out the door to go on Friday night, and my mom would be screaming at me because I couldn't find white gloves, and so I'd have like one that had like little buttons, and then one that was just plain.
Oh, how funny!
But Friday nights, and then we do the box step, the cha cha cha. It was Dick Blake, who was actually this like big famous dancer in our little world in Ohio. I should Google him and see if he was big everywhere else, because we thought he was big. But it was Mrs. Batzer's dancing, and Dick Blake was our teacher, and we did dancing school, and we had to learn how to sit at the table and what to use. And
Bert did that too.
Yeah.
He had to go through cotillion too.
Well, we had a deal. We carpooled. It was one other girl and then two boys, and we had a deal that we all just would ask each other to dance, because stranger danger. So we would, and then it wouldn't be awkward because we knew them. So we only dance with
The non-stranger dangers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But, that's something I wrote down when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, was that we have no regular opportunity for our kids to do that without going to cotillion. Like back when our parents were younger, there were church dances, school dances, church events, family events where you were required to behave that way.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not the case anymore.
So they do when George is a freshman next year.
Yes.
You're going to love this so much. So they do, the Crespi boys ask the girls, they have them they invite them to a dinner at Crespi, and there are 5 boys assigned to a table, and then they put 5 girls at each table, and the boys have to set the table, bring decor, so like bring flowers or whatever they want, set the whole table, and bring in the meal.
Aww.
And so then we bought flowers for each of the girls too. So they each got a big sunflower, and we did garlic bread, pasta, salad, and it was really sweet. But they had to get there like an hour and a half ahead, and they won't let the parents in the room.
That's awesome.
Because of course, me, I want to come in and like do the tablecloths and everything. The Miss Reza is the religion teacher who runs that event, and she's like, "Get out, parents!
That's
These
great.
boys need to learn how to set a table." And so she does it, and then they actually escort the girls into the table. It's really, really sweet. So that happens as a freshman.
That's awesome.
I know. It's really cute.
That's awesome. Remember on Mother's Day a few years ago?
Yeah.
A few years ago, Mother's Day. So they all sent us to the spa in Westlake, and we came home, and the kids they made a menu. They like decorated the table. Aww. They came and they asked us for a drink order, and like they served us, which was really sweet. And
it was
I'm saying sweet, and not that like they served us. It's just that they had that experience of like setting a table and taking care of something.
Yeah,
and it was really sweet.
They wrote the menu and then sent the dads to the store
to go buy the
stuff, and the dads obviously cooked everything because at this point they were like 5th and 3rd grade or something.
Yeah,
but it was really sweet.
That is very sweet.
It was really sweet.
Yeah, and I love that stuff. And then my son I made him ask a girl to homecoming. He was like really nervous about it, but I was like, you get 4 in high school. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss one.
No.
And it was really sweet and cute. And I was just so happy that they did have those opportunities. That, he'll get more of that, but it's good for them.
It is good for them.
But imagine like you have a son now that is going to open a door for a woman who's going to, just have that basic level of, I don't want to say respect. That's
courtesy.
Not really, courtesy,
yes.
Yeah. Like imagine, I just can't imagine a world where we don't have that, and I'm afraid that we're getting there.
Well, and there are boys definitely friends of his who, like, we all went to a house first to take pictures, and some of the boys were like totally ignoring their dates, and they don't know necessarily. These girls didn't know a lot of other people, and I was like, not even their parent, and I sometimes tend to do that, but like I was like, get over there. Your date's sitting over there by herself.
Right.
She doesn't know anyone here.
Right.
And it wasn't my kid, but I trained my kid. He was with his date like he was supposed to be.
Right.
If she went over, I was like, go get see if she needs something to drink. I kept telling him, but because it doesn't just come, like you have to kind of tell them. But the sweetest thing was they got home, like they didn't get picked up till like 11:30, and she lives in the West Valley, and her mom texted me at midnight that night and just said that she had such a lovely time, and she said he was a perfect gentleman.
Aww.
And then her mom said that this was her first big dance too, and she said, I'm just so happy that her memory will be that she went with a nice boy who treated her well and was a gentleman. And I was like lying in bed bawling, but
that's awesome.
And I love this little girl, so I wish he'd marry her, but there you go. I don't think they've really seen each other since. But they had a really good first dance, and it was sweet and good. And I showed him the next day the text that she wrote, and I was like so proud of him.
Yeah,
it's like
great.
That's how you have to act.
Yeah, I like that too. I did not marry that. I'm always shocked when someone like Lynn's husband or Jeannie's husband or Sandy's husband or Kathy's husband like picks up my bag or I walk in the door first, not my husband.
But you would never have been attracted to that.
No, but that's
because
you
had been so, the way you were raised, you were always like doing it for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
It might have been a turn. Now it's kind of nice, but it may have been a turn off when you were younger.
I don't know. I dated guys who did that. I had all of my boyfriends were really awesome, considerate like that.
Yeah.
He's the first one that's just blatantly, totally, fully oblivious to that. I mean, there's no, he walks in the door somewhere and he didn't even know I am in the world. And if we're loading the luggage in the car, I'm loading the luggage in the car, and I'm getting the luggage out of the car, and I'm, he's just, I would like a little more of that maybe. Maybe he'll listen to that and
did
hear.
you tell Lynn the text I sent you the other day?
I don't know.
I
didn't
dental,
the
oh
no!
Bert
Oh my
has
God!
a habit. You know this. Obviously, everybody. Sandy. Tom thinks it's hilarious. Your dad, I'm sure, doesn't think it's funny.
No.
But the little dental thing.
Oh, yeah. The flossers.
Yeah. So how Bert, and then just drops.
Yeah.
Like wherever he is, and so you're like walking to the house, and there's like the flossers on the floor, and of course your dad, so sweet, like he doesn't like it because he doesn't want you to have to pick up after him.
Yes.
Doesn't feel like his daughter should be picking up after him.
No.
Which is incredibly sweet. But it's just, again, as you say, that's part of Bert, and like this is like such a little thing in the grand scheme of things. He's a great dad. He's a good husband. Like who gives a shit if he drops his flossers on the ground in the grand scheme?
Yeah.
But I was out walking the dogs and there was a flosser on the street, and I took a picture and I was like, "How's Bert been at the corner of Houston and Radford?"
So here's a flosser on the floor, right?
Well, when you find like Q-tips used and they're above your door sill, ask if he's been there too.
Yeah.
Not that I've found them in my house or anything.
Yes, you have.
I have.
He cleans his ears. He will only use one side of the Q-tip, and he cleans both ears at the same time. So he rolls them. He makes his face like this,
God,
and then he puts them together and puts them on the door jamb.
Oh Lord! Well, I
One
do
time-
agree with you though. Choose your battles. Like these are
Choose your
not
battles.
huge things. He doesn't abuse you. He
No,
is very sweet to you.
He doesn't open the door for me. He doesn't. And this one time when we were living in the apartment, we just moved in together, and I'm cleaning the coffee table. And it was a coffee table that had like a shelf underneath it. So I'm wiping the shelf and I'm wiping under, and I feel something under the top of the coffee table. So he had cut his toenails.
No.
Walked over to my desk, got a piece of Scotch tape, picked the toenails up with a Scotch tape, and then taped it to the bottom of the coffee table. So I found it and I was like, "What the fuck? Why would you do that?"
You've already walked all the way over there.
I know.
He said, "I didn't feel like walking it to the garbage." I said, "You could have scraped them in your hand and put it in the garbage instead of walking over there getting taping it,
Was
and
he
then
planning
taping it."
coming back for them?
No. He was going to pick it up with the tape and then throw the tape in the garbage, but he just ran out of steam.
Yeah.
He just couldn't get back to the garbage, so he taped it underneath the coffee table.
Oh my gosh.
I used to clean the couch and find, before we discovered flossers, he would keep dental floss in between the cushions of the couch. So when he's watching TV, he could pull a partially used piece of dental floss out of the couch, floss his teeth, and then put it back in the couch, used with food on it. This is what there's no opening doors in my house or carrying luggage if he's shoving used dental floss in between the cushions of my couch. It's disgusting.
Oh my God.
Right? Disgusting.
That is like just a different type of brain.
That's a different hashtag MeToo.
Yeah.
That is a different type because it almost is like in his head he's like, this is gonna be funny.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I think he's a lazy motherfucker, and he goes, "I'm done with that. I'll just stick it here for later."
Yeah.
That way, I A, don't have to walk and throw it out now, and B, don't have to go search for a piece of floss when I need it. I'll just always have it in the couch.
I know it's just a little bit of food. So
Right?
I'm sure it's
Totally.
fine.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Oh, it's so funny.
Anyway, on
It's all
that
yours.
note, we should wrap it up. Thank you for talking about hashtag MeToo. Good luck with your 21-day fix now that we're period free.
Yeah.
And until next time.
It's gonna be a 28-day fix.